Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tierney Gleason. I'm one of the librarians at Fordham. I'll be giving you a presentation today, and let me just share my screen. Where is, sorry, this, this. All right. So the link on the screen is to it's to your personal copy of these slides. Like hopefully these slides will help you throughout the semester. So if anything I either go over too fast or you don't remember, you can link back to. Now you do have to be logged in to the Fordham system in order to see these slides. If you do have any issues accessing them, just let me know. So my name and my email are posted here. And what we're going to be going over today is, and again, not in this order, right? I'm going to keep things interesting. But we're going to go over how to find help with the libraries, right? Library resources and services, what is a periodical and how to find them, as well as Zotero. Also, we're going to be going over your questions. So I really encourage you to ask them when the time is right. One thing I do have to say is library buildings are open right now and students are able to take out print books right now, but that can change at any time. If Governor Cuomo puts us back on pause, library buildings will be closed and you won't be able to take out print books anymore. That also extends to, we have a service called document delivery, which I have a slide about later. Which is where we scan, say, a chapter of a book for you and email it to you. If New York goes on pause again, that includes librarians, right? Like, so we won't be able to be in the library building to scan items to you. So just, we have to keep telling everybody that in case there are things you think you're gonna need later in the semester. It's a good time to take things out of the library now while it's open. All right, so research help at the libraries. One things I always like to point out to students is we have this thing called Ask a Librarian. It's where you can go on and live chat with a librarian. So you'll see this chat box throughout some of the databases, as well as on the library homepage. On the menu bar on the top of the page, you'll see one of the drop-down menus says Ask a Librarian. You click on it, you'll get to this box, and what happens is when you click in here and you formulate a question, what happens is if I'm on the service, my computer starts beeping and I go in and I live chat with you. Now, one thing I do have to explain about the service, as well as library service in general, in academic library, is if you need 3 articles for a paper, you can't just write, "Hi, I need 3 articles, please." Click send and expect to get 3 articles back. In an academic library, our job is to teach you how to find the articles yourself, right? So just sort of have that mindset when you do ask help in the library. We're not able to like solve your problems. What we are able to do is show you a pathway to do the research yourself to get the items you need. So this service is actually available 24/7. Fordham librarians like myself, as well as librarians throughout the American Jesuit Colleges Universities Network, also staff this line, as well as some other people like real late at night. So if you're ever studying and you're just spinning your wheels and you think you should be able to find an article about something and you're not, please turn on this chat widget and ask a question. We're more than happy to sort of suggest some keywords, suggest a database, etc., to keep you moving to get your work done. Again, other sort of support option, you can always email a librarian and ask a question. You don't have to like explain yourself or whatever. You can just put it in the subject line, write the body of the email with your question. We get these all the time. It's not weird or awkward. If you have a question and you want to use that as your means of communication, by all means do it. We can also meet with you one-on-one if that's what you're interested in, to sort of do some live searching and some other demos. Don't be shy. If you think that's something that would help you, ask for it. Again, my email's here if you ever need anything. These are just some other quick things you can refer to later. We have an online library tutorial. This sort of will help you learn a little bit about the different types of articles and sources. So we're going to cover that in a little bit about periodicals, as well as how to evaluate some of your sources, as well as we have some of these like quick handouts. It'll just have a checklist of some questions you can ask yourself when you're evaluating sources. And that can be really helpful as well. Not going to spend time on this because we have a lot of things to cover, but one of the things that does confuse students a lot about our catalog is the way we have this search box with like multiple tabs and like one search, which there's a video about it here and how to sort of get the most out of it. But one search is going to search our library catalog, some of our databases, as well as a whole bunch of other content that we don't own or subscribe to. So sometimes searching for content in one search can be either really helpful and get you done with your research really fast, or depending on your topic or situation, can be endlessly frustrating because you keep finding books or articles that you don't have, and you just don't understand why. The other thing, so I have this tab highlighted here. If you want to just search the books and some of the items we do have in Fordham, you click the catalog tab, and again, there's another video there. We'll explain to you like how to put a book on hold and some of the other issues with ebooks. So I highly suggest when you have some time to check out those videos. They're very short. They're like 3 to 5 minutes. And you can just refer back to them anytime when you're forgetting like how some of the things at the library work. Another thing we have, and I'm going to go over some of these, is research guides. So research guides are something that librarians sort of curate in order to make sure students are able to see some of the electronic and print resources we have in a given subject. I'm just going to open up some of these guides. So we have an English and American literature guide, which has this really great tab here. Why won't this? My mouse is not working. Oh, here we go. Called English Comp Essentials. This is where, again, we have some demos that'll teach you how to pick keywords, some MLA citation guidance, which again, we'll touch on a little bit later. But if you need to formulate an MLA citation, you can use the guidance here. And again, just more videos, more databases that suggest, again, just how to search and use the library. So I highly recommend using this English Comp Essentials tab. I'm just going to close this. And another one of the guides will be really helpful for this class is we have a guide on bibliographic management tools, one of which we're going to be going over today. My mouse just really does not want to be my friend here. Okay, here we go. So Zotero. Zotero is a digital tool that you can use. So as you're researching, you can download this free tool that will live on your personal computer, as well as have another piece that's up in the cloud. And what it does is, as you search for things, you can tell Zotero to sort of clip and save some of those items in a database. And then when you go to write your paper, you can get the citations of the articles you've sent to the database to seamlessly fold into your paper. So let's see what this magic looks like. So this is my Zotero. It's like you guys are looking in my closet right now. It's definitely not as pretty and neat as I wish it was. But so these are articles that when I'm doing my professional work for Fordham, I clip them so I can save them later and possibly cite in my writing. So let's close this. So let's go to the Zotero website. So when I click on that, so it brings me to zotero.org. And so the way this works is, because you might still be like, what is she talking about? So don't worry, I'm getting there. I'll put it all together. So what you want to do is you want to, where did it go? First thing you want to do, and there are directions, so if you like forget what I'm saying, it is all on the guide, but you want to first go to Zotero and register. So register for an account is completely free with your Fordham email. Then depending on what type of computer you have, and hopefully you do have a computer. If you don't, I believe IT is loaning out computers and they should be able to let you download Zotero, but if it's not, definitely contact IT, because if this is something you want to use, you should have access to it. So you would just download a copy of Zotero depending on what type of system you have, so whether it's a Mac, whether it's a PC, etc. And then what happens is, this, you download Zotero to your desktop, you'll open it up, it'll be like this, but it will be blank because you'll haven't have downloaded anything. And actually, I forgot a step, which is you also want to download a connector for your browser, so that this connector, and I'll show you where that is in a second. When you download this connector, this is the tool that will work with your browser to clip items from the web for you and put it in your database. So back to our database, right? So what we'll want to do is we'll want to go to preferences, and this is where we will hook our account, right? So my username is similar to my Fordham email. It's tgleason11. You would clip the Zotero account you registered for online, right, with your Fordham email. You'll link it to your to this downloaded copy of the software on your computer. And the other thing you can do, actually, wait, let's cancel this. Edit preferences. Oh, the other thing you want to do is sort of the magic of using a citation manager is in the classes you take at Fordham, some might require MLA citation, some might require Chicago, some might require APA. If you're constantly downloading the citation information of articles you collect, what can happen is when you go to write a paper, what you can do is you can switch the citation format. So anytime you write a paper, you don't have to worry about saving citations in a particular format, because the database will actually format them to the correct citation format for you. So I'm normally a Chicago manual style person, but English comps use MLA 8th edition. So I have this selected, so I'll say, okay. So you guys still are probably like, what is she talking about? When I get to searching some of the databases, I'm going to show you how I clip these resources. The other magic I do want to show you is, let's pretend this is my paper. Library presentations are so exciting, and I want to quote the person who said this statement. What I would do is, so in my instance of Microsoft Word, and this is the same is true for Google Sheets, and there are videos about how to connect these. You just go to here where it says Zotero, and see here where it says Add Edit Citation. I'll click to add. The database comes up, and let's just see if I have any Smiths in here. All right, so I'm going to quote this article, right? So clicks it, say yes. So now I have my in-text citation for this article, right? Because that's what MLA 8 requires. And then when I get to the end of my paper and I need to add in my full bibliography, I would just go to add edit bibliography, and lo and behold, it just, anything that I've clipped here and used as a citation, it's automatically going to load in those things for you at the end of the paper. Now, if you've ever researched and gone one by one pasting in citations, really not super fun. So this can be a way to just streamline the process and make your life easier if it's something that you choose to use. So I am going to go over this more like as we go, so hopefully you'll have like a clear vision of how it works. But I do also just, where did it go? Here we go. At any point, you can come back to this page, right, on the Zotero guide. You will link to it in the slides. this mouse. Maybe I'm not. Oh, here we go. So the things I just spoke about going to Zotero to register, downloading, connecting accounts, all the steps are here, as well as we do have some videos over here you can refer to as well. So please ask questions as it comes up. So I'm gonna return back to our magical presentation. So this is another one of the things. Librarians help people with citations all the time. So for instance, one thing I can't do is if someone emails me a paper and says, can you check my citations for me? Like, yes, am I able to? Yes. Would it be ethical? No, right? So when people do ask us to check their citations, normally what we do is just walk them through like, wow, the guideline says this, it looks like you have all these things. We're always gonna be answering your questions with some questions because it's really, we're not able to say, quote, whether or not you're right. All we can do is keep showing you the guidelines so you can hopefully teach yourself these things. But the MLA Style Center is sort of a companion to the MLA handbook and has some really great sample research papers if you're trying to learn what MLA style looks like, as well as the Purdue Online Writing Lab at Purdue University also has a great page that'll walk you through different types of citation styles and provide you really great examples. All right, periodicals, here we go, guys. Oh, do we have a question? Will my thing let me see it? Let's see. Sorry. I am unable to see the question. Someone posted one. I don't know what the issue is. Anyway, sorry about that. Hopefully we'll have time at the end to go over that. So finding periodicals. Periodical is a journal, magazine, or newspaper that's published on a regular schedule, right? A lot of times what confuses students about periodicals is that one of the easiest ways to find periodical content when you have when you're looking for articles on a specific topic is through a database. Like every once in a while, a student will say to me, I need journal articles. Why are we looking in databases or for data, etc. So when someone tells you to go look for these things in databases, don't be confused by that. It's just, I'm sure you all have used either Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, any of those websites. That is technically a database of different types of content that's available to you. So just think of these databases in that way, where you want to find items on a specific topic, a database will help you. Now, if you're looking for, say, a specific article that you saw in the Atlantic, that kind of involves a different search strategy, and that search strategy would be to look up the Atlantic individually and sort of scroll to the issue, year, etc. that article is published, and that can be one of the more effective ways to do that. Now, have this video here that will walk you through, and I mean, I'm going to demonstrate this as well. Again, like I just always like to share resources that if students do forget, they have something to come back to guide them, but that video does walk you through how to find periodicals in our catalog. So another thing that's worth pointing out is that some of our library databases have a mixture of content. So it'll have popular articles, scholarly articles, primary sources, data, images, like all kinds of stuff like within the same database. While also we have other databases that just offer one thing. So like the New York Times would be a great example of that. In the New York Times, we have two separate New York Times websites, databases. Those just exclusively hold New York Times content. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is sort of how to know basically how you all can tell what, like, as you search for literature and content for your papers, how to know which types of articles, um, whether popular, scholarly, etc. So popular articles, you know, are from newspapers, magazines, trade journals, etc. They're geared towards a popular audience. They don't have citations, bibliographies, etc. In some cases, they're trade journals that are used in, like, say, the business side of things, where um, you have a journal that will, like, forecast trends or, like, review products for people in a particular field, etc. Um, because this type of article, you know, doesn't contain references, doesn't contain a bibliography or citations, it's not considered scholarly. Now, is that like a terrible thing? No, it's not terrible. Um, these these articles still have incredible value. It's just important to know the differences when your professor says, I need this to be a scholarly peer-reviewed source, which we'll get to next. That's a specific type of source. Whereas an article from yesterday's New York Times is still a great source, but, like, it's a popular source that, you know, is covering current events, so it's a little bit different. So scholarly sources, or also they're sometimes called peer-reviewed sources, they're essentially interchangeable terms. I mean, every once in a while you'll find an academic article that is not peer-reviewed, but really what peer review is, I do have a video on it that I show people sometimes. It's like a 3-minute video, but what it is articles that have been peer reviewed are usually written by experts. By experts, that usually means people with a PhD or some other type of, like, educational credential, where someone has studied a subject for a really long time and they write an article, and that article can't be published until that article is submitted to that professional person's peers. And then they read that article and they sort of assess whether or not this person has done adequate research to cover a topic in a specific way. Academic articles, you can usually recognize them because they look boring, right? Like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, I just mean there's not a lot of colorful pictures, there's not a lot of colorful ads. Like, the cover of a journal will just be like the journal of history, or the journal of social history. That's a real journal, right? It won't have any flashy pictures, there won't be any ads. The articles, you know, will be long, from 5 to 50 pages. There'll be a bibliography, footnotes, all of that stuff. And that's usually a way you can sort of tell whether or not something is scholarly, or whether or not it's popular. All right, so now we're going to start exploring some of the databases. Now, these are databases that I think would work well for some of the content that's on your syllabus. So we have these two databases here, Reader's Guide, Full Text Mega. You can find a lot of popular periodicals, as with US Newsstream. Places that have more of a mix would be the ProQuest Research Library, as well as the OneSearch Discovery Tool, which is on the library homepage. And then these three journals here are better at finding scholarly sources on an English comp level. This picture here is, again, just to remind you later how I find the databases. And I'm actually going to do that now. Oops. Getting ahead of myself. So, all right, hold on, let's close these. All right, so library homepage, here we are, right? So if I'm interested in databases, you go to the database tab. Now let's try one of these out. So again, I know the Reader's Guide is here and I know what it's called. You can browse by subject, that's why I have those circled, or you can see the databases A to Z home. And actually, if you do browse by subject, you'll see some of the academic departments we have here at Fordham, as well as just other things. So for instance, if you want to see all the newspaper collections we have, you could click here and you'd be able to see all the different ones we have. Again, New York Times has just New York Times content, but some of these other ones will have just an annotation here. It'll say how many papers, and you can go into those databases and sort of see which papers are covered in there, etc. Wall Street Journal, again, that's another one where it's its own sort of database. So definitely feel free to check these out. We will return to this, but I was going to search in the Reader's Guide. So let's do that. So we go in here, and anyone who's already experimented with the library catalog, you might be like, oh, this looks familiar. This looks very similar to OneSearch because this is an EBSCO database, as is OneSearch. So let's search on a topic. All right, let's see what we can find on climate change. So I'm just gonna click search. Let me move this over here, right? So the way this, so actually another thing I want to point out, a lot of the databases, so what I was saying before about the different types, notice this is telling me that this is an academic journal, right? This one is a periodical. Usually when it says periodical, that's a way of saying it's just articles, like it doesn't have peer review. That's what I think can be really confusing about using the term periodicals, is it really does refer to this like huge umbrella, and then underneath that umbrella, there's many different types. So as you look for this through your database results, you're able to see the different types of results. Another thing I want to point out, in some of our EBSCO databases, the full text content is listed in another place. So if we click find full text, we're able to see whether or not Fordham has access to this content. And you see how this page looks all brown and sad, and the branding is not the same as the rest of the page. That's because unfortunately we don't have access to this article, right? So in which case you have some options. You could either request this article if you really had your heart set on it from interlibrary loan, or you could keep searching find something from an article from a publication that we do have a subscription to. So the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists is not something that Fordham subscribes to. So let's just close this. Sort of back to our search sometimes. Let's try another one of these. Yeah, that one was a loser. When it comes in, let's, yeah, another Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. When it does work well, what happens is when it goes to the other screen, there'll be a white panel on this side, and your article will appear here. So by all means, feel free to use that. But let's pretend, continuing with my fake topic of climate change, let's pretend I see this article from Foreign Affairs, and I'm just like, ooh, I think I want to use this in my research. Actually, I don't think I can make it bigger. But can everyone see how on my screen right here, and I don't know if I can make this any bigger. Yeah, I can get bigger. But right here, you see like a little piece of paper. What that piece of paper is, that's my Zotero database inside the browser extension that I clipped, that I downloaded. So what happens is if I want to save this article, I click that and look at this, saving to my library. It just saved this article and the citation to my library. So let's check that out. So here it is. So it just took all the metadata from that article, put it in my database, and all the information is here. So when I go to write my paper, again, I just do the trick I showed you guys earlier, where it'll take this information to formulate my citation, and I won't have to worry about doing one by hand. So that's sort of the magic of Zotero. Like as you keep searching for items, you can click to have the content pushed over into your database. All right. Move this back over here. Another thing I would like to point out is every once in a while students will go to the top bar, like where the URL is, and they'll take these URLs and they'll post them in a Google document, hoping to go back to the articles. And I definitely do not suggest that. So see here where it says Session Manager 400, when you're in our library databases, a lot of the times the URL at the top cannot be created because that URL is unique to your specific user session. So when you do, if I clipped this to a Google Doc and tried to click on it later, it actually won't work. If you do ever want to take items in that way, it's better to use this permalink button, again, which generates a link that is likely to work again because it was designed to work again. The other thing you can do as you search is send these items to your Google Drive, etc. Although I do hope you are using Zotero. It's just easier. So again, so that's just one database. Let's go back out. Get rid of our ugly brown screen. So let's go to our library catalog. So let's pretend I just want to look through the Atlantic Monthly. I saw an article, thought it was interesting. I want to see some more articles in there. So instead of going to OneSearch, when I go on the library catalog tab, right, go to periodical title. I'm just going to type in Atlantic Monthly. Did I spell that right? I think I did. I'm going to click search. And this is where things can get kind of confusing. So for instance, if you wanted to see articles in the New Yorker, we have the New Yorker in electronic format, we have it in print, as well as we have it in microform. So you'll see different records that will pop up. So these, let's see. And usually so for instance, these three, I'm not sure what the difference is between them, so I'm just going to click on one. And the way the electronic, oh, okay, so this is why. So see here where it says Atlantic Monthly, but it's only showing me the decade from 1971 to 1981 in these two databases. That won't help me for the article that I saw a few days ago in the Atlantic. So I will, oh, my thing is mad at me. I will go back to my other page. I'll click in the top one. This one is showing me much better results. So the way that the library is required to buy a lot of electronic resources is we buy them in these database packages. And as you can see, the Atlantic Monthly is in all of these different database packages. So for instance, we were already in the Reader's Guide Full Text Mega. So that can be a very easy interface to read, etc. But you could click on any of these provided you want to look at these access dates. So here, 1983 to 2018. This one is from up until 5 days ago. And actually Progress Research Library, which is here, is one of your recommended databases. So actually, let's go in there, right? So we're going to look at the Atlantic via ProQuest. So one of the other things that's difficult about our databases is they all have different user experience, right? So this one is telling us, so if I'm looking for a specific issue, I would click here to find different years, etc. And then I'm able to go to the month, the volume, and the issue. Now, so if I just go back actually to my fake paper, right? sometimes students, they'll say, I know this is from this publication, but I don't understand. So in a citation, it's always going to have the name of the publication. So this one's from Digital Humanities Quarterly. But it's telling me it's the volume number is 13, it's issue number 1 from April of 2019. So knowing that information is what can help you when, and again, this is a different publication, but think of the citation as kind of like breadcrumbs that will lead you to find the items. Like if you're searching for something from a citation, think of those pieces as breadcrumbs that will lead you to the article you want, right? So I'm just going to go to September. Oh, this is interesting, guys. I've never even seen this error before. Reload. See if it works now. This is, oh, okay, it worked now. This is the other thing. If you think you're experiencing, like, if you're getting like strange errors like the ones we just saw, this is something you can report on the Ask a Librarian line. And we can either troubleshoot you through the issue, or if there's an issue with the database provider, we, in some cases, might already know and we'll tell you what they told us, or we'll report it and make sure that they sort of fix it in a timely manner. So please don't be shy. If you run into those issues, let us know. So here's my article in the Atlantic. Now, you might be wondering, like, that's not what the Atlantic looks like when I look at it online. And you are correct. What ProQuest does is it takes the text that it gets from the Atlantic and puts it in this searchable database. It does not recreate. Actually, let's see. It doesn't recreate. Oh, actually, okay. In some, I was going to say it doesn't. Sometimes it does recreate what it looks like in the magazine or newspaper. Sometimes it does not. So it really depends. But in this case, we are able to see how it was laid out in the magazine. If we prefer the full text, it's here. Another thing I do always like to point out is some of the accessibility features in our databases rather. And you might be thinking like, you know, I have good vision. I don't need to use these things. But if you do decide to click, you know, play. So I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's basically a computer reading this article to me, right? You might be thinking like, oh, I don't need that. That's weird, whatever. It's a weird computer voice. Maybe so. But if you are someone who speaks English as a second language, if you have dyslexia, if you have ADD, any of these things, some of these accessibility features will, as when you listen to them, it will sometimes even highlight the words as they go, and it can just help you, it can help you absorb the content of what you're hearing so you stay on track. So definitely feel free to use the accessibility features if you think it's something that would be helpful to you. Now, the other thing I like to point out about the ProQuest databases is it does put related items on the right, and I don't know how I got in this mob article, but so if you want to see related articles about this one you're reading, you're able to go to the right, and again, like the computer algorithms pulls articles that it thinks are similar to the article that you pulled, which sometimes they are based on keywords, and then sometimes, as we all know, the algorithms are wildly off, and the suggested items don't really match what we're studying. So these are sort of two different ways you can go about finding a popular periodical. And again, hopefully we'll go over questions. We can look up, you know, we can go over Wall Street Journal, Boston Globe, Atlantic, New York Times, any of the ones you guys want. But right now I'm gonna move to, so just back to our thing, just some of the scholarly article databases actually. So, oh, another thing, our catalog hates it when you press your back button. You probably might get this error when you're searching in the catalog. Just reload, refresh, etc. and say continue, and it'll bring you back. But this, you can see this catalog. You know it's not a modern catalog. Unfortunately, it's the catalog we have. So I do apologize for its glitches. But once you get into this portion of catalog, it is hard to get back to the library home. So let's see if this button is working today, and it is. All right. So next thing I'm just going to go over is some places to look for scholarly articles. So I'm going to go to databases. I want to see academic search complete. So I will click on it here. Yeah, I'll just try the same search, right? It's just a random, so let's pretend, so just searching climate change is obviously like a very broad search. I should, in order to make the search more targeted, I could add something else to it. So I could say climate change and add, oops. So one of the things that some of the EBSCO databases do is it suggests alternate searches for you. So for instance, if I'm interested in climate change in the US, if I click this suggestion of USA, or United States of America, this is a way of, sometimes students think that if they don't pick precise language, that the articles are still going to come to them. So for instance, if I'm looking for an article on children, there could be other articles that use the word youth or young people, etc. So sometimes when it does suggest alternate language to us, it does actually benefit us to choose it, because the only way, like, so for instance, Google sometimes will show us articles when we just say children. It'll show us these other articles because there's so many algorithms underpinning a Google search. Well, there are less algorithms here, so we do need to be more precise and make sure we are selecting language that can stretch over our topic using different words. So that's why I selected the USA or United States of America. And again, you don't have to. These are just, again, I'm just showing you guys stuff you can experiment with as you search around. And so I guess there is, so this is showing me a Time magazine article. So I guess there are some popular items in Academic Search Complete. But one thing you can do to make sure you're only getting peer-reviewed academic sources is you can click here where it says references available. That's going to take away that Time magazine article like immediately, right? Because academic articles always have cited sources. So that's one thing you can try. If you're looking for articles within specific date range, you can adjust that here. But if I want to make sure I'm only seeing items from academic journals, I can just click there. And now I have 1,431 articles that I can sort of click through and decide which ones might work for my research. Now, based on what I was saying at the top of the presentation, let's pretend I'm confused by what's in this database. Oh, look, so convenient. The Ask a Librarian widget is right here. You can open that and start typing a question here. So if you're just confused by what you're seeing, you're receiving errors, your keywords. So for instance, if you were searching climate change and nothing came up, you'd know there would be a problem, right? Because that's a hot topic a lot of people are talking about right now. So you'd be able to say like, hey, I'm in Academic Search Complete. I'm trying to find articles on climate change. Nothing's coming up. A librarian on the other line would be able to coach you about what is happening and to sort of figure it out so you can get sort of back on the research track. So let's click in here. Another thing I want to point out is, so a lot of times students do have assignments where you have to find like 3 or 5 articles on a certain topic. So the other thing I do want to point out is in the databases, there are subject terms here. So as you search, There are many sort of tricks you can use to generate more sources. So one of them would be, I could click here where it says climate change, and it's going to show me all the articles in this database that have that also as an assigned subject term. So that's something that can be very helpful. Let me go back. Oh, I was going to find full text. Let's see. Oh, no, brown screen. I'm going to get one of these to work eventually, so you guys can have faith in me that it actually works. And I am not doing well. Let's see. Nope, today's not my day, guys. Well, that's more of the same publication. Anyways, let's try that. No, striking out. So one thing I did forget to do, click into this one randomly. So if I want to use this in my research, or I'm not sure, and that's the other thing, if you're not sure, sometimes it's best to send the information to Zotero now. You can always delete it from your database. But sometimes what does happen is that you have a search, you had an article that you thought you weren't sure about, and then 20 minutes pass, you can't find it again, etc. If you just keep pushing these items to Zotero and have them ingested into your Zotero library, they're at least something you can always go back to. So let's just even look at that, right? So DOI stands for like document object identifier. If you have a DOI, a librarian can almost always find you the path back to finding the full text. So these are just always important things to have, but all the citation information is here. Zotero ingested it from the page. So again, like the citation is sort of the breadcrumbs that'll help you both find an article as well as prove to your professor that you read something, right? By being able to quote an article and having all proper pieces of the citation there to formulate. So that's a bunch of the different databases. So let's just, and let's see, we're decent for time. I'm gonna go through a few more things and then maybe we can go back and I can get some questions from you guys and test more of the databases. So another thing I do always like to point out to students is if you are interested in the New York Times, we have 2 New York Times databases. One is from 1980 to present. Similar to what I was showing you earlier with the Atlantic, sometimes you'll be able to see how the article was laid out in the original print version of the paper. Other times you will just see the text. ProQuest does not always, or usually does not have access to the images that were in the New York Times because that's comes from like a separate copyright agreement. So same with the New York Times historical. So that one goes from 1851 to 2012. So just keep that in mind if you are looking for something from the New York Times. Just keep the dates in mind, depending on the date of the article you want to find, that the access might change. And actually, given our time, I am just going to go into this database and do a test search. What brought me to the Atlantic? All right, now we're in the Times. I don't know. Anyways, so a few things I want to point out about this is that every once in a while students get an assignment and they're supposed to find an article from the day they were born. So if you do need to find anything ever in the Times on a specific date, you would do that here and you'd be able to select the date here. As well as if you're looking for something from a specific portion of the Times. So for instance, if you were looking for something from the New York Times Magazine or something you knew was on one of their blogs, you would click that here during your search. And again, if you don't click it, it still might come through. It really depends on like the uniqueness of your search terms. But if say you only want to see items from the New York Times Magazine, you could click that, and that is all you will see in your results. But let's do let's do yesterday, right? So I put in yesterday's date. It didn't do any keywords. So this is just a way for me. And actually, look, these images are here. Must mean definitely photographers definitely got a good copyright agreement. So that's nice to see. So you're able to see some of these articles here. Oh, look, pretending I am doing climate change. I could click on this. And again, so I have my, so Zotero is able to see some things like a book, a document, etc. The reason why this looks as if that's like a piece of paper, that's their way of saying like, oh, this is an article. So I could click that and it's going over into my Zotero library. And so again, what I was talking about with the other ProQuest databases, even in the New York Times one, there are similar articles here. So just feel free to click on those if it's something that helps with your topic. And again, the accessibility features. If it's something that's going to help you, by all means, use it. I definitely use it sometimes in longer articles to keep my mind on the article and not from wandering away. All right. So one of the things I do want to talk about super quick is our document delivery service. So every once in a while, you might find actually a popular magazine that we do only have in print, in which case you could request that item by clicking on this page, and we have a form you can fill out with the citation information. And as long as the library is open, we have staff that are able to then go upstairs, pull those items off the shelf for you, scan them, and email to you. So if you think this is something that would be helpful to you, by all means, go ahead and use it. We also have an interlibrary loan service. So this works for physical books as well as electronic articles. So as you're searching, if you got that like horrible brown screen and you really wanted to see those articles because you were working on a particular paper, you could take the citation information, open up an account with Interlibrary Loan, and the links are here to do that. And you would be able to put in the citation information, request it, and when our interlibrary loan librarian if she's able to secure it from another university, she will then email you that article. It can be incredibly convenient if it's something you need. Just always be advised that if you do use interlibrary loan, this is work that's like completed by actual people, so it does take some time. So if you need an article like tomorrow, it's not going to work out for ILL because that's not enough time. But if you maybe need an article in 2 weeks, it can be super helpful. So let's do some questions. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys. But yeah, let's do some questions. Let's look at more databases. You guys have topics, questions? Fire them at me. Was that helpful? Were there pieces about Zotero that don't make sense?
It was helpful.
All right, cool. Are there any particular publications that you're curious if Fordham has a subscription that we can test? And if you want to search on your own, that's cool too. I'm just here. So, any questions you guys do want to ask, but also no pressure.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much, Tierney.
All right.
Good stuff. Everybody sure? No questions? She's here.
Well, you have my email, so
okay.
Email me if you need any clarifications. All right. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you so much, Tierney.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so hopefully that was helpful. I would say the most important thing from that for you guys for this particular essay, based on what we did in our conferences, is that you may need to head to the Fordham Library to get access to some of your New York Times or Washington Street Journal articles. When you go just on the website, like to Google, it limits you. I think you can get 2 or 3 before they lock you out. So if you get locked out online, the solution is to go to that ProQuest New York Times source, and it'll have all the same stuff, and you can find the same article and all that information. I was going to do a little crash course in Works Cited because we haven't really talked about it, and I want to make sure that you guys know what you're or have some ideas of what you're doing there. So let's look at that quickly, and then you guys will be done. So everybody needs a Works Cited page. Hopefully you're going to have 2 or 3 sources for this first draft. This is a worksheet that I emailed to you, but I wanted to go through it together. Your Works Cited page needs to be in alphabetical order, please. It's either by the first letter of the author's last name or the first letter of the title if there is no author's last name. There will always be a title of either the web section or the website or the article itself. And again, you want to be using that. We'll do hanging indent format in just a second. I'll show you guys how to do that. Again, Works Cited page needs to be double spaced, no extra spaces between the sources, so they should be right on top of each other. And again, in Times New Roman font. The big 5 main components, and again, not all your sources are going to have all 5 of these, but these are the big 5. Author's last name and first name. This is the most common one to not have on a source. And again, if you don't have an author's first and last name, you're going to be using the title of the article or the web page in quotes as your way of citing properly. You will always have a source. Could be a website, could be a blog, could be a newspaper, could be a magazine, whatever the case is. The other piece that sometimes is not available is the day, month, year. Sometimes that doesn't exist. If you're using mainstream, like big name newspapers or magazines, it should have it. It should be noted that you do it in day, month, year order. They get commas, and that the day goes in numbers, the month goes in letters, and then the year goes in numbers as well. So it should look like that with a comma at the end. You will always have a URL, so please use that. That's especially important for me because it makes it nice and easy for me to go find your source again and go back through it. So some other important things. Works Cited page should be on its own page, completely separate from the rest of your paper. Don't forget that Works Cited does not count towards your word count. This first draft, we're shooting for 600 words. Final draft, at least 1,200, no more than 2,100, so 4 to 7 pages. Again, Works Cited page should be separate and doesn't count towards that total. So again, to repeat, some sources will not have authors. It happens. You want to be using the title of the article or the title of the web page alphabetically in your piece. And again, please remember, no Wikipedia and no encyclopedias. Okay, questions about that checklist? Should we look at some examples here? We have Barnett Robert, last name, first name. We have the title of the article here in quotation marks. Again, notice that the punctuation goes inside the quotation marks there. The source goes in italics, health. We get, in this case, we only have the year, and then we get the URL there at the end. Let's look at another example. Another example we have last name, comma, first name, period. Again, title of the article in quotation marks. And again, notice the question mark goes inside the quotation marks. Your source again goes in italics. In this case, we don't have a date, which totally happens, but we do have a URL. Another example there. Now we have 2 examples of sources that do not have authors. So notice that they're alphabetical by the first letter of the title. In this case, T and W. So again, notice goes in quotation marks. Again, that punctuation goes inside. The source is in italics. And then we do get a date here, day, month, year. And again, notice that the day is written out. The month is written out in letters. And then the year. Again, notice that we're abbreviating the date. So you don't write January all the way out or November. You're going to be writing November with a period, or October like that, or September. Those abbreviations. Finally, we get the same thing at the end. No author's last name. It's alphabetical by the first letter of the title. Again, notice that the punctuation goes inside, source in italics, and then we get the URL there at the end. Obviously, this is a crash course, and this is your first draft. So if you make mistakes, don't worry. We'll keep practicing it. We will definitely have another lesson more in depth with the Works Cited page. You guys will have an open book quiz on it. I believe it's next week. Let's do hanging indent format. Let me go to my page here and change my screen share and show you guys the hanging indent format. Why don't I see? There it is. Is that right? Can you guys, what screen can you see now? That doesn't look right.
It's a Works Cited page.
Yeah, you can see that. It says Bannister Piers.
Yes.
Okay, weird. It looks weird on my end. So this is currently in hanging indent format. I'm going to undo it and then show you how to do it. So this is in Pages, but it's the same technique, whether you're using Google Docs or Word, all the same. You're going to go up and you're going to go to View, and you're going to Show Ruler. They all have it. I believe in Google Docs, it's actually a button that says Show Ruler. But again, you go into that View tab and you click Show Ruler. So first thing you'll notice is that the ruler appears. This is already in hanging indent format, but I will take it out of hanging indent and then show you how to put it back into hanging indent. So we'll get that back, take it back to 0. So before you do hanging indent format is the last thing you're going to do. You're going to organize your sources: author's last name, first name, title with punctuation inside, source, date if there is one, URL. Then you're going to put them in alphabetical order. Once you have all those pieces done, the very last thing you're going to do is hanging indent format. The first thing you have to do is show the ruler, which you can see here. Again, it's the same whether you're doing Word document or Google Docs. It's all the same. Show that ruler. I don't know if you guys can see it because they're small and it looks slightly different depending if you're using Google Docs or Word. But there will be 2 things. There'll be a triangle. This one's a rectangle. In Word, it's actually a square. And it's a square in Google Docs, but the same idea. There's 2. There's a triangle and a piece on top. You highlight all your sources. Be careful not to highlight the Works Cited at the top. You're going to drag the pair of them to 1.5. Whoops. To 1.5 there. And then you want to grab just the top part and you take it back to 1. And you'll see it gives that little indent there that's called hanging indent format. The email that I sent you today has a file that explains this in it. It also has a link to a YouTube video that basically just does what I just did if you need help. Questions about any of this? Feel free to post in the chat if you have questions.